Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
Tonight, the floodwaters in Steuben County have receded, but the destruction remains. And we are learning about a mother who died in the flash flooding. Big Fox's Matt Kleindienst joins us from the town of Woodhull with more.
Good evening, and towns throughout the southern tier continue cleaning up from the flood damage that destroyed several businesses and homes and even took the life of a Greenwood resident. States of emergency remain in effect throughout Steuben County as towns work to clean up the flood damage. In Woodhull, overflowing creek water flooded numerous downtown businesses and homes, closed down bridges, and even tore up freshly paved roads. The flood also claimed the life of a 31-year-old mother from Greenwood last Wednesday. According to police, Clarissa Bivens was swept into the Canisteo River by floodwaters when driving near Woodhull. Her body was found after a 5-hour search on Thursday. To date, Bivens remains the only casualty of the flooding in Steuben County last week. Crews throughout the county are working to clear the road damage while state lawmakers work to secure aid for the affected towns. Matt Kleindienst, Big Fox, WYDC in Corning.
New York Governor Andrew Cuomo bidding farewell to New Yorkers today on his last full day in office. In a pre-recorded address, the governor talked about his belief that the Attorney General's report of sexual assault allegations against him was politically motivated. He also thanked New Yorkers for allowing him the chance to be their governor.
Hello. As you probably know, I'm stepping aside as your governor. I wanted to share some thoughts with you that I've been thinking about over the past few days. There will be another time to talk about the truth and ethics of the recent situation involving me. But let me say now that when government politicizes allegations and the headlines condemn without facts, you undermine the justice system. And that doesn't serve women, and it doesn't serve men or society. Of course, everyone has a right to come forward, and we applaud their bravery and courage in doing so. But allegations must still be scrutinized and verified, whether made by a woman or a man. That is our basic justice system.
Cuomo announced his resignation earlier this month after mounting pressure and a possible impeachment trial over allegations he sexually assaulted several women. Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul will take over on Tuesday, becoming the state's first female governor. The FDA gives full approval to Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine, paving the way for more Americans to roll up their sleeves. Jonathan Seri has the latest from Atlanta.
The numbers are still ticking up. We're now averaging more than 137,000 new COVID cases every day in the U.S., an 11% increase from last week. But the effort to get Americans vaccinated could be getting a big boost. The FDA announcing Monday it has given full authorization to Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine. Public health officials say it should help alleviate vaccine hesitancy and prompt more companies to adopt mandates.
It may help increase vaccination rates to some extent, but I also think that there are universities and businesses that have been considering putting in vaccine requirements. This announcement from the FDA would likely encourage them.
The push for vaccination comes as hospitals are getting overwhelmed with COVID patients once again. Almost 80,000 Americans are now hospitalized, including a growing number of children, with doctors across the country reporting the Delta variant hitting young people much faster than the original strain.
It's attacking the younger, and the younger are sicker, and they're sicker quicker.
Public health officials still scrambling to contain the outbreak. Over the weekend, San Francisco became the first city to require proof of full vaccination for most indoor activities, drawing mixed reactions from folks there.
I think it's terrific, actually. Absolutely in favor of it.
There's going to be a little bit of angst and pushback.
There is still no word on when the FDA might give full approval to the Moderna and Johnson & Johnson vaccines. In Atlanta, Jonathan Seri, Fox News.
The announcement about the Pfizer vaccine comes after a nearly 3-month review process by the FDA. The COVID vaccines were previously administered under emergency authorization. Steuben County Health Director Darlene Smith says some unvaccinated residents have been waiting for the vaccine to get full approval before getting it.
I'm hoping that now that it does have full approval, that we'll see those individuals who are waiting for that step forward and get their vaccine sooner rather than later.
To date, about 55% of adults have at least one dose of the COVID vaccine in Steuben County. Analysts say hospitalizing unvaccinated people is costing the U.S. health system billions of dollars. A Kaiser Family Foundation report found the average cost of a COVID-19 hospitalization is around $20,000. The foundation also looked at government data and found that 113,000 hospitalizations could have been prevented in June and July. That means more than $2 billion could have been saved during those 2 months if those people had been vaccinated. The foundation says these figures are likely an understatement of the entire burden on the healthcare system. New York police are searching for the suspect who punched an Asian woman in the head. They say this man hit the 52-year-old mother while she was walking with her 11-year-old son on Sunday. A source says the suspect told the woman to get out of there and cursed at her and go back to her country. Emergency responders treated the woman at the scene. No arrests have been made. The NYPD's Hate Crimes Task Force is investigating the incident. People across the country are cleaning up after storms dumped several inches of rain in the Northeast and in Tennessee. In Middle Tennessee, dozens of people are missing after flooding surged through neighborhoods. Charles Watson has more.
Millions of people remained under flood watch warnings Monday as Henri drenched the Northeast. The slow-moving storm left thousands without power in flooded parts of New England down through Northeast Pennsylvania.
This is definitely doing a lot of damage to the sand. You can see the erosion.
Henri made landfall on Sunday near the Connecticut-Rhode Island border with wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour. The storm dropped up to 6 inches of rain over several areas, but largely spared the region from significant damage.
We don't have to deal with the damage of such hurricane or superstorm Sandy that came a few years ago, which caused catastrophic damage to this area here.
Meanwhile, in Tennessee, more than 20 people are dead and many missing after floodwaters surged through parts of the state on Saturday. In less than 24 hours, a record-breaking downpour dropped more than a foot of rain in sections of Middle Tennessee.
It was dramatic to hear the stories of how fast this happened in the community, which is part of the reason that so many people lost their lives.
Rescue crews are frantically searching for those missing as they navigate piles of debris. The storm turning creeks in the town of Waverly into rapids, washing many structures off their foundations.
We've got stuff from other businesses that are actually washed into our place with the windows smashed out. But it's totally destroyed. There's nothing salvageable.
President Biden says the federal government stands ready to offer assistance for recovery efforts. In Waverly, Tennessee, Charles Watson, Fox News.
As many Californians face the threat of wildfires, some evacuees are concerned about whether they'll still be able to vote in the upcoming recall election. Jeannie Wen reports.
The hard thing is not knowing what's going on at our home.
For Dan and Karen Garbowski, the last week has been difficult as they had to evacuate their Pollock Pines home on Tuesday.
We're lucky that we have family close by. We're staying with our son here in Placerville.
And today, the couple finally got their mail.
Today's the first day we came. I was worried about getting here before noon, thought they closed at noon. Happy to see they've extended their hours till 5 o'clock.
Like many evacuees, getting mail has been tricky, especially as ballots have been mailed out for the upcoming recall election. Bill O'Neill is the El Dorado County Registrar of Voters and says at this point, there's only one place where people can go to get their mail.
Mail is currently, from what we understand, is currently being held at the Diamond Springs Post Office for all of the displaced voters and all the displaced residents.
O'Neill says there are other options if people are not able to physically make it to the post office in Diamond Springs.
If a voter is not sure where they're going to be at, they can call our office. If they're at one of the evacuation sites and can't receive mail, we can bring ballots to them.
County officials have been visiting evacuation sites all week and will continue to do so to make sure people are receiving their mail. On top of that, O'Neill says they will provide an option for people to vote in person.
We're going to have in-person voting set up next Tuesday here at Cameron Park and then also at the one at Green Valley Church.
And while people like the Garbowskis wait to see when they can go back home, they're thankful to be able to easily get their mail.
It was easy in and out. I appreciate them being here all day.
Of course, this location here in Diamond Springs is subject to change depending on how the Caldor fire progresses over the next few weeks. El Dorado County officials urge people to check their website on the latest updates on how to pick up their mail.
A week after the Taliban takeover of Kabul, the situation at the capital's airport remains chaotic. Firefight broke out this morning when a sniper started shooting at Afghan security forces, helping to secure the base, killing one of them. All while tens of thousands of people wait to get out. Britt Conway has the latest on what is happening on the ground and in D.C. as the president prepares for a week of excruciating decisions.
We're heartbroken for our country.
Desperation in Kabul. More than 20,000 people in and around the capital's airport waiting in the blistering heat for the chance at a flight out. The ones who make it through the gates are exhausted and scared, but they're the lucky ones. They've made it past the Taliban checkpoints and security guards.
I've been waiting for 2 days, yesterday since 3 a.m.
Not everyone is so lucky.
Those who are stuck here, we're really heartbroken. Our heart bleeds for them.
With the Taliban in control, it's still far from certain U.S. citizens, Afghan translators, and others who worked with U.S. forces will be able to get out.
They're definitely going to leave people behind. Let's be clear. This evacuation is the people who could make it to Kabul, and we're already there to begin with.
If we're leaving by the 31st, we will not get out all of the Americans we need to. And we absolutely won't get out all of our allies who've served with us for 20 years.
President Joe Biden says he remains determined to evacuate American citizens and Afghan allies. He says there are discussions about extending the August 31st deadline. And 2 U.S. defense officials say the U.S. military is establishing alternative routes to the Kabul airport because of a threat from a self-proclaimed branch of ISIS and possibly other groups. The White House says G7 leaders will hold a virtual meeting on Tuesday to talk about how to coordinate an approach to the crisis. I'm Britt Conway reporting.
Still ahead tonight, top U.S. health officials urging people with a new warning not to use a drug that's typically given to animals to treat heartworms to prevent or treat COVID-19.
Ivermectin is not a recommended treatment for COVID-19. It is not a recommended drug to prevent COVID-19.
More on the dangers of this drug and the rise in calls from people who have taken it.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Tonight's Big Fox forecast is brought to you by William Mattar. Good evening, everyone. It's been a pretty warm day. We did have a lot of clouds out there. There was a little bit of rain early in the day, but that has given way to a little bit drier conditions. Temperature readings will drop down to around 69 degrees by midnight and then mid-60s by 5 o'clock in the morning. We'll start off with partly sunny skies tomorrow, and temperatures will start off in the 60s. So it's going to be a pretty mild start to your Tuesday. High pressure builds into the region, leaving us with plenty of sunshine during the day and south winds. And with those south winds, that means it's going to be warm. It will be humid. Henri will continue to move away from our area and will continue to weaken. So we're going to be on the backside of the system. And so we're not going to see any rain for tomorrow. Our dew points right now around 72 degrees. So very tropical air that's moving in and it's causing those temperatures to feel so much warmer. So for tomorrow, we are expecting to start off in the 60s, in the 70s by 9 o'clock, and then we climb up to around 85 degrees by 1. Lots of sunshine during the day. With the humidity, though, it will feel like the 90s by the afternoon, and so it's going to feel quite warm tomorrow, and it's going to be warm for a couple of days, but we have several systems that will come through, and that will push those temperatures back down. So for your Tuesday and Wednesday, it's going to be hot. In fact, Wednesday is going to be hotter than Tuesday. Our average high is around 80 degrees, but it's going to feel a lot warmer than that. Our temperature reading will be around 90 degrees, but it will feel like close to 100 degrees. But then we start to see those temperatures drop by the end of the week as several systems come in, and it will introduce rain chances as well. Our future radar is showing there could still be a few isolated showers off to our east that will continue to end. Tomorrow, I'm expecting it to be very quiet, but plenty of sunshine and a lot of heat, and that will be the situation for your Wednesday. But in the afternoon, there will be a few showers developing to our west, and that will move move into our hometowns by the late afternoon to the evening hours. So Hornell, Bath, even in Ithaca, there could be a thunderstorm or two that will be pushing in. Not the best chances of rain, but our rain chances will start to increase by Thursday with a wave of energy that will be moving in. So by 10 o'clock in the morning, it looks like we'll wake up to some cloud cover, and then the rain starts to take over and will continue into the early evening hours on Thursday. Then we have another front that will come through, and that will help to cool things down by the end of the week. Tonight, though, we drop down to around 64 degrees in Elmira, around 66 in Corning. Highs tomorrow in the upper 80s. Again, it will feel like the mid 90s because of that humidity, and then it gets hotter on Wednesday with a high around 90 degrees. We're going to see a drop in our temperatures by the end of the week with rain chances from Friday into the weekend.
It's a situation unlike anything hospitals have seen before. Many doctors and nurses will tell you they thought COVID-19 last year was bad, but now the Delta variant has proven worse. Hospitals are facing a daily struggle with rising case counts. At Oregon Health and Science University, nearly 90% of COVID patients are unvaccinated. For those in the ICU, that number is 95%. As Kelly Azar reports, it is taking a huge toll on medical workers.
And then we'll pull him over here.
Overworked and at times underappreciated, not to mention short-staffed.
Yeah, I'm actually coming in for overtime today because they're really short-staffed, so I just came in and I'm just picking up an extra couple hours to help the team out.
That's a common story on the ICU floor at OHSU as the hospital reaches capacity, even setting up ICUs in other wings of the hospital.
And it just keeps happening and it doesn't stop, and there is no end. We see no end. So it's like, what do you do?
Which for the medical personnel, dedicating their lives to save ours is a scary reality.
We're so full that we can't accept other patients that need care. And it's really alarming to think about if something did happen that our ICU wouldn't be able to accept anyone else because we are so full of COVID.
Kristen Roach has been an ICU nurse at OHSU for 5 years, a year and a half of that with COVID protocols. With rising case numbers, more and more deaths, and now deaths that could have been prevented with a vaccine, she says that is what weighs on her the most.
And that people could see what a day in our life looks like, and I think it would be a wake-up call.
More misinformation. That's what the FDA and top U.S. health officials say they are battling when it comes to an anti-parasitic drug called ivermectin. Typically, it is given to livestock, but they say some people are now trying to use it to treat or prevent COVID-19. Mandy Gaither has more on the dangers of this drug in today's Health Minute.
A new warning from top U.S. health officials prompting this tweet from the FDA, urging people not to use ivermectin, typically given to animals to treat heartworms.
Ivermectin is not a recommended treatment for COVID-19. It is not a recommended drug to prevent COVID-19.
The Mississippi State Department of Health sent out this alert saying the state's Poison Control Center has seen a rise in calls from people who have taken the anti-parasitic drug, those who consumed it attempting to treat or prevent COVID-19. Officials say most who called bought ivermectin at livestock supply centers.
If you get COVID-19, we actually do have treatments that work, from steroids to monoclonal antibodies and other treatments, but ivermectin is not one of them.
The FDA says there are approved uses for ivermectin in people, but not for the prevention or treatment of COVID-19, and taking it can be harmful, especially when it hasn't been prescribed by a doctor. Some possible side effects include skin rash, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea, neurologic events like dizziness, seizures, or confusion, a sudden drop in blood pressure, and liver injury.
What this highlights is just the profound cost of health misinformation.
Officials continue to say the best protection we have against COVID-19, vaccines. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Work from home is coming to an end for many Americans, but for their pandemic pets, well, they'll be home alone for the first time. Isabel Rosales spoke to an expert pet trainer on the 3 steps you can take to ease separation anxiety.
All right, guys, we're going to start off with just a normal activity.
Business is booming for pet sitting companies, setting new booking records
as pet parents leave home.
Who's that?
So too is demand for pet adoptions.
The pandemic really opened the doors for people to try out adopting and fostering that I always wanted to try it.
While the Delta variant is placing many return to office plans on hold, for some workers like Genesis Torres, remote work is over. It means her pandemic pet, Benji, will stay home alone for the first time.
He usually gets really nervous, starts crying or whining.
That's why Torres turned to a professional dog trainer to address Benji's separation anxiety.
I just think it made me very anxious. I was concerned about if he would tear things up in the home, if I would get neighbors complaining about the noise level.
In a Washington, D.C. park, you'll find Scott Dancer, the dog wizard. His employees train people and their pets to face behavioral problems.
Separation anxiety is a buildup of mental energy in the dog's head.
Dancer says when you walk out the door, your dog's stress can manifest into noise and destruction.
They're just pack animals naturally, so they want to be with their pack and they get their confidence from the pack.
Dancer says there are 3 steps you can take at home to help them get ready for your return to office.
Thank you.
Before work, wear them out mentally with a structured walk full of commands.
That's a good girl.
Build their self-confidence. Dancer suggests command them to sit and walk away slowly. Repeat often so they learn.
Down. They don't have to be attached to you the whole time. They can be on this bench, mom can be over there, and nothing bad's happening to them.
And don't underestimate socialization.
Sometimes just exposing them to more confident dogs in a social situation like at your dog park or at the daycare, that confidence is going to rub off on one another.
He warns on your own, these techniques will take time and may not be a fix-all.
Maybe now they'll just go maybe whine for a few minutes instead of for a few hours.
In Washington, Isabel Rosales.
It may only be August, but you may want to get an early start on holiday shopping. And you'll expect to cough up a little extra dough for gifts this year. That's because the shipping crisis is getting worse, and it could mean higher prices for shoppers and retailers. The disruption to the global supply chain since the start of the pandemic has spurred a shortage of products. That means fewer choices and a higher cost. The latest issue, a China terminal shutdown because of positive COVID-19 cases, causing bottlenecks and delays for other shipping lines. A tense rescue of a baby that became accidentally trapped in a hot car included the use of blunt force and kid gloves. Jeremy Roth has today's Take a Look at This.
Police in Ohio shared video of a very tense situation to underscore a very important safety message. Euclid officers received a report of a baby trapped in a hot vehicle. The mother had accidentally locked her keys inside. After multiple attempts to jimmy the lock failed,
we're going to bust out this window. The baby's been here too long.
Officers switched to blunt force, using a sledgehammer to break in. The baby girl was safely removed, but was visibly sweating from the incident. The department shared the rescue video on Facebook with a reminder that on an 86-degree day, a car's interior can rise to 104 degrees in just 10 minutes. An official operation in some Washington state woods looked more like a sci-fi movie with a title like Nest of the Giant Murder Hornet or something. Entomologists dressed in moon-suit-looking protective gear confirmed the location of the first giant Asian hornet's nest of the year. The invasive species, which are the largest in the world and not native to the U.S., can be fatal to honeybees and humans alike. Officials are already planning a sequel to this operation, Removal of the Nest of the Giant Murder Hornet. Finally, there were some hornets spotted flying over Chicago, but these were FA-18 Super Hornets flying with the famous Blue Angels. The Navy Air Demo Team put on a dazzling aerial display, the first in the Windy City since before the pandemic. For Take a Look at This, I'm Jeremy Roth.
We want to leave you with a smile tonight. Check out this breathtaking panorama of Mars. NASA says its Curiosity rover took 129 individual images while it traveled up the side of Mars's Mount Sharp. The detailed compilation shows a 360-degree view of part of the red planet's Gale crater, including Rafael Navarro Mountain, named in honor of a late NASA scientist. NASA says the panorama reveals an ancient environment that has dried up over time. They believe the rocks will tell them how this once wet planet changed into the rocky, dry land it is today. Pretty incredible to see. From our whole team, thank you for joining us. We hope you have a great night.